everyone, thanks for coming back to the BNS channel. So I wanted to give you a little bit of an update health-wise, and something that I had done, a procedure that I had done that I want to share with you. You'll have to excuse the bumps as always. My mobile office is like a roller coaster. If you need to just shut the video off and listen, maybe that's what you need to do. So last Tuesday I had okay, let's back up a minute. So about 2 years ago, I was leaving my front door, and there's one step off the porch. I took the step, my foot either landed on a rock or in a hole, I don't remember, but regardless, it twisted and I fell. When I fell, I landed on my palm, but I also landed right on my arse, and it was on a rock on my tailbone. So I was in a lot of pain in my tailbone area for a good while. I wasn't sure. I might have fractured it. I could have just bruised it. I don't know. Because I listen to people sometimes too much. And I was told that there probably wasn't much that they could do for a tailbone anyway, and that it was just going to have to serve its time, and eventually the pain would either subside, or there was a possibility that I would have pain there forever. So I let it go. I had a few incidences where I went to go sit on the floor with the dogs and totally took my breath away because of the pain. It could give me severe pain if I went to sit on it the wrong way, especially on a hard surface. Anyway, that bothered me for probably about 7 or 8 months, and then it kind of went away. There were some moments where it could be sore, but not so much pain, and kind of forgot about it for about 1.5 years. And just recently, in the last, I'd say 4 or 5 months, it started hurting again. And I had an episode where my back was spasming. It was like almost a whole week where I was really having a hard time moving because my back was all whacked out, and I don't really know what the deal was. I had gone to get it checked, and she didn't really have much to tell me other than she thought it was spasms. It started in the middle, it radiated to both sides of my hips in the back, and then kind of ended up on the right side for some reason. And then it kind of dissipated, but the tailbone pain hasn't gone away. And so I went back to the doctors, and she said, you know what? She goes, I think I'm going to send you to Dr. Freston. And Dr. Freston is a doctor, a regular physician, and she also does something called OMT, which is Osteopathic Muscular Treatment. If you've not heard of it, you should look it up. So this was I think I got scheduled for my appointment 2 weeks in advance, so I had like 2 weeks to talk about it with people, and most people I talked to said it's painful, but it's worth it. It's painful, but it's worth it. That's what I kept hearing. It's painful, but it's worth it. So I thought, okay, and I was scared shitless. Like, I was so scared. I think this is my husband. I'm not sure. Nope, it's not. I just waved to somebody else. So anyway, I went in for this treatment, and she did some explaining. She did some explaining to me in regards to what was happening, or what the potential of what was happening. So we have something called fascia. It's a tissue that coats our muscles, our tendons, our bones, pretty much everything in our body. And it tears. It can tear. So if you fall, or if you have some kind of a traumatic impact or something, this fascia can tear. And typically it'll just heal back flat, and there are no issues. However, sometimes she says it can kind of clump up together and cause this like clump of fascia that heals together, and it needs to be manipulated to flatten out. Other times it will heal in some spots and some spots won't heal, and so what ends up happening is the muscle underneath it will pop through, kind of, basically they're hernias. And by doing that, it causes the muscle to be weak and stretched, and therefore not protecting the area that it's supposed to protect as well as it should. And so that's what she thought was happening with my tailbone, and that I had probably damaged some fascia when I fell, and therefore she wanted to manipulate the muscle. Okay, so basically what she figured out, and at one point while she was doing the procedure, she said, "This isn't magic." She goes, "I actually feel like marbles inside." And we're talking about my buttocks, so just picture that, would you? So she would kind of feel around, and then she'd feel a marrow. She said, "Is it tender here?" And I'd say yes, and just the little bit of pressure that she was giving it made it very tender, like when something is bruised already and it's really tender. So I would say yes, she'd say okay, take a deep breath in, blow it out, and as I was blowing out, she was nothing but a pint-sized woman, first of all, and she would take her thumb and she would drive that muscle back down in through past the fascia, I'm assuming. But she'd feel that little marble of a muscle and she'd push it back down in. Well, I'm telling you, that is painful. And if you're looking at having it done, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna lie. It's a painful procedure, and I'm assuming that each procedure is different. Maybe where it's done is different, but I do know that those muscles are already tender, so her manipulating them like that it's not fun. So she did that probably about 18 times on my left side and about 10 times, maybe less, on my right side. And it was all down, at the top near where the tailbone is, and underneath, and so after that was done, I told her, I said it was worse than a bad tattoo because it's like that she doesn't let up. She'd go from one spot to the next spot, and I was sweating, and she goes, "You might cry, you might sweat, you might get a headache, you might get dizzy." I got the sweats because I'm always sweating. So yeah, it was like she would just keep continuing. So it's like a tattoo when they keep going and going and going and they don't let up. Before I left, she said, "You're going to be tender," and she said, "You may even bruise." So I got home to Ben, and I told him what I had gone through, and there was no bruising. And then the next day there was no bruising, and then the third day there was bruising. And he said to me, he goes, "If there was enough pressure," because I told him, I said, "It's still tender. It still kind of hurts." And he goes, "Edie, if there was enough pressure, if she put enough pressure to bruise you, it's gonna hurt. A bruise doesn't go away in a day," which it's true. So I feel that my tailbone pain is not as severe. However, it still gets very achy and tired if I sit too long. And I find that because of those muscles around my tailbone or tendons, I don't know. When if I've been sitting for a long time and I go to get up, it will hurt. It hurts. I know this is private, but it hurts to go to the bathroom if there's any pressure. It's like whenever there's pressure, and I thought it was a sciatica nerve, and she said, no, it's not. So who who knows? I do know that I was having some pain behind my leg and behind my knee, which is what I thought was the sciatica. And she seems to think that the muscles that she manipulated are what's going to relieve that tension. And I think that might have worked for sure, because I have not had that pain again since. And it's a one-time deal, according to her. She wanted, before I left, and she was telling me about the bruising, she said, I don't want to see you again. So the experience that I had with OMT was different. If it works, I probably would go through it again, because the pain of my tailbone outlasts the pain that I had for this treatment. So share with me any experiences that you have had with OMT. I'm anxious to hear, because there are different levels, there are different types, there are different places that it's done on your body, and I know people swear by it. So that was my OMT experience. I'll update you at some point later. I think I'd have to kind of wait a week or so, I think, before I start seeing real results in my tailbone pain. So I'll let you know. Have an amazing day.